Hey, everybody, and welcome to the latest and greatest episode of the Fangirl Radio Show. I am your host, Jessica Dwyer, and with me tonight are my lovely and talented co host, Mr. Erik Smith,
Hello.
and the lovely returning to us, Sarah Buck.
Hello.
Also, I just have to cap this off at the beginning, but tonight is the final episode of Late Night with David Letterman.
Aww.
And it's been an emotional one last couple of weeks, but I just have to make a mention of it because he has been on almost my entire life.
I know, it's crazy.
33 years. He started when I was 7. And so it's kind of insane. And it's a nice thing. He's going out on top. It's a very big deal right now. And Jimmy Kimmel actually made me cry with his tribute that he did to him. And if you haven't seen that, go check that out. It's on YouTube. But the good thing is in September, we will have the geek that stole my heart. Stephen Colbert will be taking over. So we will have as Stephen Colbert. He will not be a dick this time. He will be well, depends on if you're Penn Jillette, I guess.
I've never met the guy.
But everything I've ever seen about Stephen Colbert, he is not a dick. So he will be himself, which is different. And right now he's got that hot beard thing.
Yeah, the beard is good. It is a good beard.
Oh, I want to walk his plank.
Dirty.
Yes. No, not really. I'm good. All right. So when this airs, Letterman's episode will have already been on. Thank you, Dave Letterman, for just bringing sarcastic, biting wit to late night television, because that's awesome. So let's go into our Week in Geek, because this episode, our discussion topic at the for our last half, the second half of the ep, is going to be the controversy that has been going on in fandom for like the last couple of weeks. We've had some stir-ups of the poop going on. Poop stir-ups.
Language.
I know.
They keep your shoes on.
Yeah. Yes. But there has been some definite controversy brewing in the land of fandom, and it kind of got the cherry on the cake this week was Simon Pegg and some comments he made, and then he ended up turning around and writing a very well written, well thought out response to people shouting it from the mountaintops. He is forsaken his geekdom. And I don't actually agree with that.
Well, and he doesn't agree with that either.
No, and we're going to get into that stuff. But I wanted to do a Week in Geek here because we have some stuff going on, and we had some season finales and just a lot of good stuff going on TV right now. First off is iZombie, which I don't know if Sarah has given a chance yet to watch.
I have not, but in my defense, the WWE is doing a ton of pay-per-views this year. So my dance card is full.
Priorities,
it's true.
Oiled up men in tiny pants.
Wow.
I'm just kidding. Sorry.
No, I respect that. So iZombie, this episode was just mean. It was a mean episode in terms of what it did to the characters. It was definitely a lot less serious, or a lot more serious than others, like Hardcore, Poor Liv,
Poor Major.
It just was messed up. And this didn't even have any Blaine in it. This was just horrible stuff going on without Blaine, and that's. This is the first time I think I've actually seen a show that allowed a character to, when there's stuff like this going on, when typically it's a supernatural show and there's a character who doesn't know that they're living in a world that has stuff like that going on, and they think they're going crazy, they get told the truth. This is the first time I've seen a character rationalize, no, let them check themselves into a mental hospital.
Yeah.
And they did.
Yeah, it was crazy. But I mean, he does say that's going to be the safest place for him.
It's true.
Which may be rationalization for not telling him, but it sounds good.
No, but it kind of is true that he will be safe there. No one, they're not going to allow people that aren't on the list to come in, that kind of a thing.
Yeah, the Candyman's not going to get in there.
Exactly. But Jesus. I've never seen a show allow someone to go thinking they're nuts.
Yeah.
And
Buffy did it.
Yeah, but I've never seen someone allow themselves, they did not allow a character to check themselves into an insane asylum. And that's what happened. So it's an interesting...
Ooh, no, House did that too.
Yeah, but that's not a supernatural show.
It's true. Well, I mean...
But
a little bit sometimes. The last couple of seasons it got weird.
What we're saying, because Sarah doesn't watch it, the character of Major has been looking for these missing children and dealing with a guy he's calling the Candyman, who is a zombie. And he's seeing all this weird stuff happen, and the Candyman comes after him, and he shoots the man in the chest 3 times, sees his eyes go all red, zombie-ish. He leaves the room, calls the cops. When they come back, the guy's gone. There's no blood.
There's no evidence that
there's
he
no
actually
evidence.
shot anything.
So everybody's telling him that he's going crazy, that, no one broke into his house. He didn't shoot anybody. There's no weird conspiracy going on. So and the cop, Babineau, says, look, if you don't get your head on straight, I am going to forcibly put you into a mental hospital. So he volunteers, and instead of Liv and her boss, what is his name?
Rakesh? Is that it?
I don't know.
I
Instead
think...
of telling him, and typically in these types of shows, you think they would go and say, hey, look, you're not crazy. There are zombies. Liv would make her eyes flash red or something to prove it. No, they're like, yeah, let him go into the mental hospital.
And her rationalization for it is pretty intense as well, because she says Major just thinks this guy is selling drugs to kids and kidnapping them and killing them,
yeah.
But what do you think and with that, he's gone out, he's using a gun, he's investigating, he's getting arrested, he's doing all this stuff. He's going above and beyond and going extreme. What do you
He's gone kind of vigilante.
Yeah. What do you think he's going to do when he finds out they're eating the kids?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh yeah, he's probably going to go psychotic. It's going to be like a complete and utter break. So it's interesting and extreme and very depressing, because Major, even though he's your typical leading man type for a show like this, he's really likable.
Well, I love the Candyman. The guy that plays the Candyman has really grown on me in this show. And I love when he's talking to Babineau, and he says, oh, you're talking about that guy that looks like he's from a Nicholas Sparks movie?
I know, he's perfect. It's a perfect example of what he looks like. That was hilarious. No, it's such a witty show, and the fact that you like Major. Even though he does look like he walked out of a Nicholas Sparks movie, they've made him such a fun dude. And he's sweet and funny, and you really like him, and you feel bad about what's going on. And he's always walking around with his face broke, busted.
Yeah.
Jesus,
oh, he got crap beat
out of him. So, yeah, I really like what iZombie's doing, and I think we still have like 1 or 2 more episodes to go this season. But the ending of this, I knew the minute he tasted her blood what was going to happen.
Oh yeah. Well, unfortunately, I saw that actor on, I think it was on Marvel Movie News show on YouTube, and he mentioned that he was going to be on 3 episodes.
Oh, so there is probably 2 episodes left this season then.
That was a couple of weeks ago, so I knew he was before any of that happened. I was like, oh well, I know he's coming back.
Oh man, yeah, I really liked him too, because he was perfectly creepy, and now he's all scarred up. So it's going to be interesting to see what he does when he figures out what's going on, and if he's going to join forces with Blaine.
And are we going to see Steven Weber again?
I hope so. I loved how they were explaining his character too. I can't remember the exact words, but it was just the American Psycho reference. I like that.
Yes.
That was
Yes.
great. There was Oh, go ahead.
I almost always love seeing Steven Weber.
He's always good.
Yeah.
Because he was great in that 2 seconds he was in Community this season where he played the
Yeah.
one guy. By the way, Community, if you're not watching it on Yahoo, you should be. Just had their, of course, yearly paintball episode. And
like, I would totally watch it if Yahoo didn't freaking crash. Like, it literally, like, it just crashes. Like, you get it running, and it's just like... It's like, seriously, Yahoo?
It crashes when I try to watch it on my Xbox, but it doesn't crash when I watch it on my computer.
I haven't had it crash on my computer. Now, I have had some issues with their app. If you have an iPad or an iPhone, you can watch it on there. They actually have a Yahoo Screen app for that now. But it's been good this season, and I love Keith David.
Oh yeah.
My God. He is my favorite character. I love that. I'll make sure not to tell y'all I just pooped. It's great. So The Flash had its season finale, and our own Erik Smith has a video up on YouTube right now. His Flash and the Flash in a Flash, which isn't quite in a flash this time because it's the longest video he's done to encapsulate the just ridiculousness and awesomeness of the finale.
As I say, it's the finale was not action packed, but it was awesome packed.
Yeah, a lot of people have said this is probably one of the best finales for a season of a comic book series on television.
I thought it was great. One of the big things to me was the fact that they had this little surprise wedding that just went off without a hitch. You know, I mean, especially in a comic book show,
weddings are never good.
You expect villains to show up or something to go wrong, but no,
especially in DC. DC hates weddings.
It was just, and it wasn't advertised. I saw nothing that showed that there was going to be this little wedding, and they just had it outside. It was all the core characters, and it took a minute and a half, and it was just a nice little thing. And there are a ton of teasers at the end when Barry Allen's going through the Speed Force, through the wormhole, whatever you want to call it. You get all these little flashes of the past and the future, possibly alternate worlds. You see Caitlin as Killer Frost really quickly. You see the Legends of Tomorrow cast. You see Barry in prison, handcuffed.
Ooh.
So there's just all sorts of stuff in there that they packed into this.
Well, and speaking of Legends of Tomorrow, and you guys need to go check out Erik's video because he goes over everything in the episode, and it's up on YouTube right now. If you go to our Fangirl magazine YouTube channel, you can check it out. It's part of also he has his own playlist on there for these, so you can check that out as well. The Legends of Tomorrow thing, Arthur Darvill, yes, that's how you say his name, had a AMA Reddit this weekend, and he was talking about the new series, and I don't know if anybody kind of tried to point out to him how much DC should be sued for this character from the BBC that he's playing, Rip Turner.
Rip Hunter
Turner.
He's from the comics.
I know, but look at him.
He's been around for a really long time.
But look at how they have him dressed. He is the War Doctor. He's wearing the War Doctor's outfit. It's ridiculous. He's even got the little goatee of the War Doctor. I did a comparison photo. People are wowed. It's ridiculous. He is the Doctor. He's basically playing the Doctor. So he was talking about the fact some people were asking him about it, and he's like, I haven't really done anything with that yet. I was jet lagged and tired, and I filmed that at like after 3 hours of sleep with these guys. And all he's filmed so far is that little promo, I think, for the episode. Because he's not for the trailer. But
I was completely I was like, no, and then Arthur Darvill came on, and I was like, okay.
I think it looks like it has potential, but then I'm a huge Hawkman and Hawkwoman fan, so I don't know if they're calling her Hawk Girl or Hawkwoman.
She's
Having
Hot
her in
Girl
there,
right now.
Yeah, they're
having her in there is great. Heatwave and Captain Cold have been fantastic on the Flash. If they can keep it up for a whole series, then that'll be great. The only one that I don't really care about is the Atom.
Poor
yeah.
Finn.
It's like look, we can be Marvel too.
Well,
I haven't liked him on the Flash.
I think
So
the interesting thing that they're going to be doing with this is not only they're going to be traveling through time in it, but they're going to do the alternate universe things too. So there's a lot of potential with
which
that.
I love.
Yeah.
Like Earth 2 is like shady territory at this point, so hopefully it goes well. But yeah, the only reason I'm gonna watch it is because Rory's on it.
I don't know, what the multiverse in DC is like now. There were an infinite number of universes. Then there was only one, and then there were 52, and then I don't know what any of them are anymore.
And now they're all converging.
Don't remind me.
It's all just ridiculous.
So, the one thing that happened that I think I'm the only one on the show that watches this, but if you're not watching The Blacklist, you really, really have a problem because you should be watching The Blacklist. It's ridiculous on how good it is. The guest stars that are in it, I can't even do justice to how good the show is. And this season, the season finale just aired, and things went in a direction that I never in a million years thought they'd go. And that basically is that Lizzie, the lead of the show, crossed a line that I never thought she'd do, which is she shot someone and killed them in basically cold blood. He was unarmed. And it was the evil senator guy or justice. He's actually, I always say evil senator. It's always an evil senator. He's not a senator. He's part of the Justice Department, and he's high up in the Justice Department. And he was part of the cabal that has been controlling her life. And they framed her for the death of, I believe it was a senator. There's where the senator is coming in. And infected her with a virus that was. The virus was specifically created to only harm the guy that got infected. It was this Uber virus, high-tech thing. And with that, they managed to peg her as a Russian agent. They're trying to blackmail or, basically blacklist her as a Russian agent because her mother, it turns out, was a super Russian agent. And she didn't even know her mother, really. So you find out that Red probably isn't her father in this episode as well. And as it progresses, you find out that Red wiped her memory specifically so she wouldn't know that she killed her own father as a child because he was beating her mother. And she shot him. And those memories were triggered, and that's kind of the reason why she ended up shooting the justice guy to death, point blank, because he was threatening Harold Cooper, who is her mentor at the FBI, and basically everyone else. And she realizes that he was the reason she was has been put into this corner. So it's up to Red to save her. And he gets her out of the country. The last shot you see of them is the two of them in a car together, and she lays her head on his shoulder and closes her eyes because she's on the run now. And the last shot is her wanted poster going up next to his. She's now on the top 10 list of the FBI's most wanted. That's your hero. That is your hero of the show. And I never thought it would go that route. That's pretty extreme. That's some 24 shiz right there. So if you're not watching The Blacklist, you need to be smacked. The entire first season.
No hitting.
The entire first season's on Netflix. You don't even have to worry about Hulu. Go to Netflix. It's all there. and you really, really need to check it out. This season was great, and it's also interesting that the double agent kind of guy that Tom, who reminds me of Arthur Darvill, these two need to play brothers in something, also has kind of been redeemed. And by the way, his boss is played by Lance Henriksen.
Gotta love Lance.
Oh God, he's so good. He's so good in this. And the other show that aired, which we will come back to later in our controversy segment, is Game of Thrones. And the one thing I will say about this last episode of Game of Thrones...
I'm okay. It's okay. It's okay, guys. I'm good.
Sarah just killed herself because of Game of Thrones. Was the horrible effing fight at the Water Gardens. Oh God, no wonder, if I was Oberyn Martell, I'd kill myself if the mountain hadn't done it for me, if my daughters fought as crappily as these girls did. I almost said something else.
They were in it for all of 2 seconds. I'm like, I don't really care about this sand snake thing.
I was so excited about the sand snakes, and now I could not care less. They have made them so lame. There's no excuse. I was excited when she threw the spear through the guy's head in the episode before this one, and now this was supposed to be their big battle, and it was the most lame thing I've watched.
It was so short.
It was
I thought it was gonna be going on for a while, so I glanced at my phone during that scene, and then it was over, and I'm like, oh, well, shit.
Basically, I mean, that was my take on it. So we'll come back to the other big thing that happened in that episode later on. So kind of in comic book news right now, there's two things going on. One is all of those Suicide Squad quote unquote leaked photos that are going around. If that set is that loose and allowing stuff like that to get out on its own, I don't. I smell something stinky in Denmark or Gotham. You pick. And I will say this. I'm really digging the Jared Leto Joker. I'm sorry, guys.
I think he looks fantastic. I liked it from the beginning. I'm tired of people being like, "Oh, look at shit."
I didn't like the tattoo on his head. I think that's a bit much, but the suit and the comparison photos they're showing to the comic books and how crazy he looks, and especially the leaked scene of him with Harley was great. I'm okay with it so far. The thing I'm more worried about is Will Smith doing his thing in it, and I'm whatever.
What, Scientology?
Who knows? Maybe. But
well,
go ahead.
You know what movie has the best photo campaign going right now, right?
Which one?
Deadpool.
Oh my God! I'm so excited.
The
one man PR that is Ryan Reynolds.
The Mother's Day photo.
I know.
Was fantastic. The toilet photo. Of course, the bearskin rug, I think, was the first one.
He is amazing.
Was the Mary Poppins one a fan photo, or was that an actual promo image?
I haven't seen that one.
There's one circling, and I don't know if it was done by fans, but it's him with an umbrella flying over London.
No, I haven't seen that.
Yeah, no, it's freaking amazing.
No, I think it's interesting. That's all Ryan Reynolds is this one man PR campaign.
Yeah.
For Deadpool. The stuff with Suicide Squad, like I said, if that set is that loose and allowing people just to take whatever pictures they want, there's no way the studio isn't in on that. So that's why a lot of people are wondering if these leaked images are something to throw people off. I don't think they are. I don't think they're that intricate with what they're doing, but it's really, the studio is allowing this leaked stuff out. That's what I think they're doing, how they're doing it, because there's just too much. The one thing, though, that I find interesting, the rumor patrol that's going around right now, and I at one point would have been way okay with this man playing the Joker as a slick Southern, creepy, sleazy Joker, this would have been my tra-la-la touching place.
Oh.
Yeah. Matthew McConaughey has been talking about, God, can you imagine? Think about that. If you've seen Killer Joe, you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about.
I have this image of a southern plantation owning Joker.
Dude, come on. If you've seen Killer Joe, which if you have not, you really should, because he is phenomenal in it. He's just so sleazy and dark and crazy and sorry. So Matthew,
Jessica needs to go to her happy place.
I need to go to I went to my happy place. That was the problem. So Matthew McConaughey has been talking, and he has been approached by both studios, or both, I guess you call it studios. DC and Marvel have both come to him with comic book scripts to have him in films. And I don't think he actually spoke about which ones that have come to him that have already been filmed and which ones have not yet been filmed. It makes me think seriously that maybe they did approach him for the Joker, the way he kind of worded it. But now the word is he is possibility of being Norman Osborn in the Spider-Man reboot.
I can see it.
Yeah, I can see that. I'm like still like pissed that there's gonna be another Spider-Man reboot, it's not gonna be Miles Morales.
We really don't need a reboot. Just
seriously, like I'm like, oh, let me see anyone go up to the street. Well, what's Spider-Man's origin story? He got bit by a radioactive spider, guys. How many times you're gonna like shove that into our holes?
I don't think they're gonna show it. I mean, he's making his first appearance in Civil War.
Right. That's what I think. It's not going to really be a...
But they did say it's an origin story.
I don't think they're going to do it. I really don't think they're going to do an origin story. Because it wouldn't make sense if he does show up, because it's Marvel. Marvel has it.
No, it's... Well, that one, but Sony's the one that the reboot is in the hands of.
They may actually partner with Marvel. I'm hoping they partner with Marvel and do it. But if they actually are going to have, like, McConaughey play Norman Osborn, then it may be an older Spider-Man. I kind of like that. But who knows? I mean, this is also complete rumor and conjecture at this point. There's no confirmation on it. But, if you can't have him be the Joker, maybe the Riddler. I don't know. God, in my head, though, that sleazy Southern Joker. That made me...
But Norman Osborn is pretty psychotic, and I would love to see him do that.
I know, but yeah, after Detective too, he's good at that kind of crap.
If they weren't rebooting it again, I'd be excited, because like there's been so much cool stuff done with Norman Osborn in the last 5 years.
Yeah,
5 to 10 years in comics that it's yeah, let's do that, but I don't think that Sony is smart enough.
That's why I hope they'd partner with Marvel on it. I really hope they do something like that. But we'll see what happens. In my head, though, there's a what could have been with him and the Joker, and it would have been phenomenal. And maybe I'll have to write a fanfic about it. So I can do that. I can make it happen in my head. Something that I've actually gotten to see the whole film of just had a trailer hit. And I am so excited for people to see this movie, and I am going to be interviewing Elijah Wood hopefully soon about it.
I've been waiting a long time for this movie.
Oh my God. I actually got to see all of it thanks to Lionsgate. Cooties, the trailer, hit the web today. And I
can't believe they're making another movie based on a game.
Nice one.
Oh, wait. Sorry.
No. I have to tell you, though, in a cast with people like Elijah Wood and Rainn Wilson, and all these guys, the guy that steals the freaking movie is Leigh Whannell.
Yeah.
Leigh Whannell steals this flick, which I think he wrote himself the best lines because I believe he helped co-write this. I think he did that on purpose. I mean, Rainn Wilson is amazing, but Lee steals the movie, and I can't tell you anything else about it other than it's freaking phenomenal.
I just watched the trailer before we started recording.
It's a great throwback flick. It's definitely an R-rated flick. There's the stuff they do with kids, and this is not okay. And it's just awesome. It's so much fun, and it's just a fun movie with a lot of in jokes. And I was surprised though, in the whole film, no one mentioned the faculty. And here you have Elijah Wood, but no one mentions the faculty. But it was so much fun, and you need to check out the trailer. It's going to be a great flick. And if there's any way possible, because the interview is coming via an article I'm going to be writing up for Horror Hound on this movie. If there's any way possible, I'm going to try and get you guys some footage from the interview with Elijah and whoever else I have that I can get from this movie to talk to. So.
Yeah, I've been waiting a long time, and it looks really good.
Oh, God, it's so funny. It's so good. It's a great flick. It was really a lot of fun. Another flick that was a hell of a lot of fun, and actually is a nice little segue into our couple of weeks of fandom controversy in the land of sci-fi, fantasy, and horror, is Fury Road.
Oh my God.
I needed a couple cigarettes and some alone time after
Oh my God, it's so good.
Oh,
it's beautiful.
It's
so beautiful.
Sarah, did you like the movie?
I loved it. It was so good.
Oh my God. The new, I guess Fury Road kind of is the new Return of the Jedi. The question is, how many times have you seen it? I actually have only seen it the one because I haven't had time to go back. I am definitely going to see it again. But
oh my gosh, I've only seen it once, but like, oh my gosh, like I would go again in a heartbeat.
No, I know people that have seen the movie already 2, 3, 4 times, and it's just an amazing film. George Miller just did. I don't even know how he did what he did with this movie, and you keep finding out cool things about it, like the fact that the guitar actually did all of that.
Oh yeah, did you read that thing
Oh yeah,
like
George Miller, you will show him a prop and he'll go, okay, turn it on. Mm-hmm. And you're like, oh, you really want it to like shoot fireballs into the air? Yeah, turn it on. I'll be right back.
So...
like you go. So Fury Road, just there's not much more we can say about it that hasn't already been said. I wrote up a little piece on fangirlmag.com about it. I also posted the awesome Alamo Drafthouse turn off your cell phone that has Toe Cutter / Immortum Joe on there telling you to do that, or he's going to find you in the night. And they have already announced that there's big surprise. There's going to be a sequel called The Wasteland. It's Tom Hardy is signed for 3 films. Now I got to ask you guys, because I'm assuming Eric, you saw it as well.
First of all, I heard it was 3 more films.
Yeah, he's signed for 3 more films. Yes.
And no, I have not seen it because I am very poor and unemployed.
Oh my God!
I have plenty of time to see it. I just don't have the money.
I will PayPal you money.
I know, it's like that's one of the things. Is like, okay, everybody listening, go to Patreon and just like give Eric money to go see a movie right now.
Start a Kickstarter campaign.
Yeah, no doubt. No, so Fury Road, the other, like, there's a fandom theory out there that he's not actually Mad Max.
I read this today.
Yeah, it's really fascinating because I'd actually heard a rumor that originally Feral Kid was supposed to be in this or something like that. And now it's kind of changed to where, even though, because throughout the film, he doesn't really tell you his name. Mm-hmm. It's not until the end that you hear his name, Max.
Right.
And I'm not going to spoil any of this for Eric. Just know that it's freaking amazing. It's going to blow your ass off. Okay. But the theory.
Hold on to your ass.
Hold on to your ass. It's Fury Road. That needs to be on a T-shirt. So the theory is with how they've kind of switched up the backstory for him a little bit in the flashbacks that are in this film, is that he's actually the feral kid grown up, and that Max gave him his leathers and raised him, and so that's why he doesn't really have a name, and that's why he looks so different, and the age would actually work.
I think that's going too far. I think, like, you know, it's just like you have to kind of deal with changes, like when anything's rebooted after a long period of time, because like.
But it's not a reboot.
Like, but it's not. No, it's a continuation.
Right.
It's the next film. I like to think that he is Max because he does it so well.
He does it well, but at the same time, it's a neat theory, and it would explain a lot. But you know, George Miller's kind of loosey goosey with the timing too. Mm-hmm. But it's a neat theory. It's a neat way to think about it.
I like the theory. I like the idea that Mad Max has become this sort of cultural icon that the young kid from the other movie chose to emulate.
Right.
And I read that he doesn't really, you know, he grunts a lot throughout the movie and doesn't talk. And of course, in Road Warrior, the kid doesn't talk. He just, except for the narration. As a kid, he just grunts.
Right.
So that was one of the pros in the thing that I read in favor of this theory.
Yeah, and the con is that he didn't use the boomerang. Which is like, yeah, God damn it, that's right. He didn't use the boomerang. If he'd done that, it'd been like, oh shit, it's him.
It's a fun theory.
Like, it's the like insinuation of like the little girl and the kid, and we know Max had a family,
but he only had a baby son. He did not.
Yeah,
oh, and they were.
I think that.
And they were run down by motorcycles, not a truck.
Right. And but actually, if you, God, Eric, I don't want to spoil anything for you.
You can spoil it. It's not like I haven't been inundated with it for the past week.
They actually have clips from the original Mad Max in it. That the close up of Toe Cutter biting it at the end, and in his flashbacks there are scenes, and that's part of the reason why they think that it might not be Max is because of the little girl, and you wonder what that's from and that kind of a thing. So it could be just a representation of the people that he's lost because he's gone through, you know, Beyond Thunderdome, he went through the Road Warrior, and God knows what else happened after that.
Also, you know, George Miller is allowed to take creative license with his own stuff.
Oh yeah, but
totally.
It's a neat theory. I dig it because Feral Kid showed up in. Didn't he was in Road Warrior, and then he got adopted by the helicopter guy.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's been in the last two films. So it'd be kind of neat to have that continuation there, and that it would be a moniker of you know, I'm Max, you know, that kind of a deal. So, but kind of segueing into our controversy discussion, Fury Road, a lot of people loved it. And then there are some people who really didn't. And for real, this is something that people have already been talking about. We kind of discussed it a little bit the last show, which was the ridiculous. I'm still in awe of this. There was a guy who, and I think it's only one so far that did this, but there is a guy named Aaron Clary who wrote a piece about it being a feminist piece of propaganda posing as a
men's rights activists.
Yeah, and
oh my God, men's rights.
And he was actually
called. Whoa! Don't infringe on my rights to be an idiot.
He's
Meninist.
He was calling for a boycott of the film, which.
And I want to be perfectly clear. I haven't seen it because I'm poor, not because I'm boycotting it.
And it's funny. You read this, and he's talking about the fact that, you know, Charlize Theron's character is far too equal to Max, I guess, and that it's more of her movie than anything else. And then he actually said something really stupid. He actually was saying it was something about American American culture ruined and rewritten right in front of their very
Right.
eyes, when in
Yeah.
fact, dumbass, it's an Australian film that was done in Australia, written by an Australian.
But we do tend to take everything and make it our own.
Well, the fact that the guy didn't even, he hasn't,
Yes.
at the time he wrote it, he hadn't even seen the film. Secondly,
Why would you need to see it?
Well, and I mean, this guy also goes on and on in this thing about how women, they need to like keep the strong patriarchal values, and women can't be equal to men, and that women need to stay in their roles where they are, and they should not be elevated to this. Women, like, basically, like, women need to be in the kitchen making sandwiches. Like, that's their entire thing. That's like their entire thing goes off of that. Their role as men is to be over women.
Well, the thing that I loved about Fury Road, one of the it really is a massive equality piece, and it's talking and it's hidden behind all this like insanity of violence and action sequences and things. But George Miller went so far as to be like, okay, first of all, these women are breaking free of not only these like chastity belts, they're breaking free of being baby factories, they're breaking free of being these beatific, weird objects. They're, and who is saving them but a woman who is just a complete badass, who is the one that has been trusted with all of this responsibility. She's lost an arm at some point, and you even have these images of these women that are the breast milk factories, which is crazy. And then you find in the desert these women that have lived all this time. They're older, they're strong, they're also the protectors of life in the form of the seeds and things like that. Miller took a franchise that already had strong female characters in it. I mean, look at Tina Turner's character in Beyond Thunderdome. Look at the leader of the kids is a young woman in Beyond Thunderdome. And then you have the badass warrior chicks in Road Warrior. It's not new to his franchise. It's not new to Mad Max to have this kind of badass female in it. But to have it just so equal in the film and have the entire film be about that is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And there is no romance. That's the other thing I found funny. A person on Facebook was asking, okay, what about sex? Because my friend's wanting to take his 13-year-old son to this movie, or his 12-year-old son. I'm like, first of all, there's kind of a weird balancing act there, in that you're okay with every kind of violence known to man, but no sex.
I know. Well, honestly, like the sex component, it doesn't have gratuitous sex, but it does have that sex trade and sex slavery theme to it. Because that's what those women were. They were like
his brides and his broodmares.
Forced to be his.
Exactly.
He kind of just took them. I doubt there was a happy wedding. No,
there was nothing like that. But in the terms of sexuality, there's really none, and there's no romantic angle. Max and Furiosa are equals, and they're begrudging allies, and then they finally have respect for one another, and that's really, really neat. And I love the scene where she, a lot of people are picking up on that, where she's the better shot. He allows her to use him just basically as a tripod for her rifle.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So it's kind of ridiculous that stirred up that kind of controversy in the last week or so, that men were threatened.
Well, these are the Gamergate guys who have been harassing us for the past 9 months. So go figure.
And then kind of hopping off of that into, let's go back to Game of Thrones. I find this kind of ridiculous.
I find it incredibly ridiculous.
People are
straight up ridiculous.
Are very pissed off about last week's episode where Sansa was raped. They call it raped. It's more. I think she was just like begrudgingly accepting.
No, it's rape, but it's Ramsay Snow. For Christ's sakes,
she knew it was coming, and it doesn't change. It doesn't change the fact that he raped her.
It doesn't make it better. But this is my thing. Okay, if you're going to be like, "Oh, he raped her," we're so mad that they put that on screen. It's like, well, that's not helping the situation.
Well,
like, rape exists. You don't erase it from all, like, existing on screen in order to, like, deal with it. That's just denying it exists.
First of all, it's Game of Thrones. Horrible, horrible shit happens in Game of Thrones, not only to women, but to men. People seem to forget that. See, people seem to forget that the entirety of the Unsullied have been castrated. The entire, Theon Greyjoy was castrated. Varys was raped and castrated. Theon was probably raped the way Ramsay's acting at some point or another. And it's just a horrible place. Horrible things happen. And that's part of it. And to think that they're not going to have Ramsay do what Ramsay does and to show...
Ramsay's done it multiple times.
Yeah. The thing is, with this scene, it's a twofold opportunity to show how villainous and vile this guy is. Sansa knew. She even kind of told Littlefinger, when you come back, I'm going to be a married woman. She knew what was going to happen. She was ready. If not, she's not going to enjoy this. She knew it was coming.
Well, and I think what I understand of the argument is they're saying that it's lazy storytelling. They're like, yeah, we know Ramsay's awful. You don't have to do it like that. And I'm like, well, if you pay attention, it's not used as a device to make Ramsay look awful. It's the device they're using to push Theon over the edge.
Right.
It's the device they're using to re-break Theon of his the way Ramsay broke him.
Right. There's the two parts to that scene. There's one is that Sansa is crossing that final line to hardening herself for the realities of what's going on around her. She's already kind of shown that with her conversation with Theon's spurned ex in the bathtub. She was kind of like egging her on, basically baiting her, come on, do something. But the thing with Theon that just makes this so horrible for him, and he's not a great guy, but it's just, first of all, he is watching basically his sister be taken and raped on her wedding night, horribly, roughly, by a guy that he can't stand, who cost him his manhood. Secondly, the fact that he gave her away. He gave her to him. And that is in his brain as he's watching this. I gave her to him.
It's the tipping point. Like, having Sansa back, like, Theon can't justify his existence as Reek anymore. Now, does it have to be portrayed like that? I mean, I guess not. Is it lazy storytelling? I don't think so, because I think
it adds to it. I think it adds to it.
I think it's lazy watching. It's like, this is one of the things that frustrates me the most, and as someone who considers herself a feminist and someone who's outspoken against rape culture, like, one thing we don't want to do is silence it. For one, it exists, and representations of it should be treated with care, but it's not glorifying it. It's not like she's gaining some kind of power from it. It's not like, like, it's used and it's there, and rape happens, and we should do something about it.
The fact that, okay, the Mary Sue is no longer covering the show because of this, and this was their tipping point. Not that some guy has been brutally raped and had his junk cut off. You know, we're not going to get pissed about that. We're going to get pissed because this off-screen scene that was a turning point for 3 characters in the show, a very important scene in the terms of that character's arc, because it's going to change her. But it's in a world where brutality exists. George R. R. Martin and the Game of Thrones TV series, the books themselves have the character that was actually in the books that ends up marrying Ramsay, who was pretending to be Sansa. They strongly suggest she was raped by dogs. I mean, that's in the book. If you were not going to cover the TV series after this, then you should never have covered it from the get-go if it was based off of a book where stuff like that happened.
Well, and like I said, that's just lazy. And second of all, like, if you're going to talk about, you know, a women's movement in any form, if you're going to talk about feminism, you need to keep your goal in mind. Like, to just react to things without thinking it through why you're reacting to it, or actually really thinking about it and being like, okay, here was this scene. What kind of context was it presented in? How do I feel about it? Why do I feel that way? Was this presented as some sort of gratuitous, like, scene? No, it wasn't. Was it used, like, to portray, like, a horrible thing happening? And, like, it was used, like I said, it's not lazy storytelling to show that Ramsay is awful. We all know Ramsay is awful. What hasn't happened is Reek becoming Theon Greyjoy again.
Well, and the other thing that I have to point out, because it just irks me that this is the tipping point, is that one of the giant love stories, and a lot of people have brought this up too, the big love story of the ages from Game of Thrones is Daenerys and Khal Drogo. How did that start?
I know, she was a child bride,
and he took her from behind, roughly,
like a dog.
That's what they say. On their wedding night. On their wedding night. Now, does that mean that you're going to stop completely covering anything that Jason Momoa does? I mean, are you going to hold, I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't understand the tipping point for some of these people.
And it's reaching. And a lot that's been like, I was really excited that it seemed like we had a women's movement in nerddom, and then of course, the lowest common denominator got a hold of it, and now it's just reactionary, and it's going to destroy it. It's going to destroy everything we were working towards.
Well, and that's kind of a good tipping off point to where we're ending this segment, which is the other piece of controversy that literally just happened like a day ago, which is Simon Pegg's article from, I believe it was The Guardian, or actually the Radio Times interview.
Yeah, Radio Times, yeah.
And it was reported out by IO9, who immediately jumped all over it and made it out like he was slamming fandom and slamming science fiction and slamming everybody in nerddom. And then
they just pulled quotes.
Yeah, they out of context.
Let this be a lesson to people who want to be bloggers and journalists. Like, if you're gonna pull quotes, use them correctly.
Right, and don't make it a reactionary thing like they did. Yeah. So he ended up reposting on Pegster, which is the website that Harmony runs for him, a very well worded and well thought out explanation of why he said what he said. And if you go read it, because I actually agree with him 100% on.
Oh yeah, it's really well done. And one of the things he brings up that, like, when I heard people kind of like talking about it, is that, like, dude, you guys, Simon Pegg has been talking about, like, infantilized adulthood for over a decade.
Right, the Spaced series was all about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but
like,
Go ahead.
This is not no, that's fine. It's just, this is not a new topic for him, guys.
No, the thing that he's talking about and pointing out is the entitlement that has somehow, and I was actually talking to a friend of mine about this, and it seems to be a generational thing. Like this wave of 20-something-year-olds is typically who you're going to get this a lot from, and I sound like an old woman as I say this, but it's true. There is an entitlement to fandom right now that runs on both sides. It's not just women, it's not just men. Both sides have it. And that entitlement, that me, I'm a baby person, I'm an adult baby, I'm going to say what I want without any thought of what I'm doing, and you better give me what I want. And that kind of goes back into the whole Fury Road thing. It goes into the Game of Thrones stuff, because you've got these the males of fandom, a lot of these entitled man babies, like the Gamergate guys. If I don't get my way, then I'm going to make your life a living hell, and I'm going to be a little bitch. And that's what happened there, that entitlement. And it's like they're stuck in this teenage wasteland of adulthood where they're never going to get out of that. They feel like they deserve whatever they want. And it goes to also the women, because you have these crazy broads, and I'm going to say broads, I'm a woman, I can say that, crazy broads that attacked Joss Whedon and told him to kill himself. What? How could you, where do you think that you have the right to tell that to someone?
Well, and this is the thing, and when the Joss Whedon thing happened, I told people, I'm like, this is reactionary, it has no end goal, and it's stupid. It's stupid. You don't do that.
Well, and it's just gotten worse. Spaced came out right as the internet had really gotten its steam going. I mean, it that was really started, and becoming broader and broader and broader. And now I think a lot of this is due to how the internet has connected fandom. There's so many good things that it has done, but God Almighty, is there so many bad things it's allowed to happen, which is that no one knows who I am. I'm anonymous. I can tell this man, you should go blow your brains out because you made Black Widow fall in love with the Hulk. And it's like, what?
And like, it should also be pointed out that in his original interview, like, Simon Pegg was really just kind of lamenting the loss of kind of the more psychological science fiction and fantasy and stuff like that, the stuff that really tackled the bigger issues.
Right, because he talked about Ex Machina.
Ex Machina and Fury Road. He said those were amazing. That he's like, that's what I'm talking about. He's like, I just feel like, movies get too heavy on spectacle and too light on substance at a certain point. And, science fiction is a genre that came about because of questioning, like, existence and questioning, like, psychology and the world in general. It's a genre that was built on asking the big questions. And, there's, of course, like, it doesn't always have to be deep and, like, philosophical and stuff. But, we have to admit that lately, a lot of times we do settle for spectacle, and not that there's anything wrong with that, and even the most simple of movies can have something to say, but, like, I would not mind having more Fury Roads out there.
Well, the other part of it that I always go back, it must be, it's very telling that I always come back to Rod Serling, and the fact that he used science fiction and fantasy as a tool to talk about issues and things, and get away with talking about things that at the time you couldn't get away with talking about. And he hid it within this veil of science fiction, and it was beautifully done, and I miss that. the last time we really had that was District 9. And I miss that kind of storytelling where, you learn a really good lesson and something is conveyed in that guise. And it's always, you walk out of there and you're still talking about it. Like, I'm still talking about Fury Road. And that is telling. That's the last time that's the first time I've come out of a movie in a long time with that feeling.
Well,
Yeah.
science fiction, fantasy, and horror have always been, in my opinion, the best tools for exploring these issues, because you can take the outsider's point of view. You can take the alien POV and look at humanity from a different direction that you can't necessarily get from just straightforward literature or fiction, because we're bogged down in the reality of that.
Right.
And when you can, like with Rod Serling, when you can take it outside the bounds, you can look at us from a completely different perspective and maybe spark some debate or some thought or whatever.
Absolutely. Like, Jessica, I know you have not seen this, but the Babadook, like, is another great example of horror that's really taking a more thoughtful look at things. Like, it's a gorgeous narrative about dealing with trauma. Like, this, and it can be stuff like that. We get so caught up in just like, like gore, gore, gore. Computer effects are cool now. Like, take a step back, think about it.
Well, and the other one that I didn't mention in our TV week recap, but I was blown away by how awesome it was, and it was 95% female driven, which is also an interesting thing, is Penny Dreadful this week. If you're not,
I don't have Showtime anymore.
If you're not watching Penny Dreadful,
I want it so bad.
Patti LuPone was in this episode as Vanessa Ives's. They called her the Cut Mother, and that was because she actually performed abortions and things like that for the females. She was basically the doctor for the females of this area, the Moors, and it was amazing. And it was just such a wonderful performance and really, really good. And it spoke to, yes, it just so happened she was a witch, but it talked to, at the time, of how women were, these women like her that did these special procedures and did these potions and things for the people there, took care of the girls who were in trouble. They were spat upon because of the very reason they were needed. And it was that was just part of it. There was other things going on as well, but it was just a really neat story, and how, we don't want to admit to what is going on and why we need these people, but you know what, even though they're the only people that can help us, we're going to treat them like dirt.
Everybody's a monster in that show too, so
yeah, it was just a really well done piece. And I just, it's really the internet, I think, is a lot to do with it. I don't think Simon really talked about that specifically in either the interview or his piece, but the wonderful bits of the internet, I think, outweigh the horrible parts, but those horrible parts are really what's causing this problem.
Well, and I think also, to say, like, it's just the internet.
It's not just, tough. But it's a lot of it.
There's a lot of stuff with the economy that's caused this in the past decade, and all that stuff. So there's so many things that are like making people like it's unreasonable to go out and get a house now, so I'm just living with my parents, and why don't I just, like, there's a ton, like, the theory of elementary school teaching in the 80s and 90s was like vastly different than it was before and it is now. So, there's all this stuff that goes into making these kind of weird generational things. And, maybe there is some credence to, that he's like, yeah, it seems like this generation and has a lot more of them. And, Like, there's a million reasons why, but, like, to, like, go crazy on Simon Pegg for just, like, being thoughtful. Oh, how dare he, It's like...
Yeah, people were jumping on him really quickly, and part of that was also due to IO9 and websites using it as a clickbait tool. And that's why he really turned around fast on it and responded. And if you read that piece, he's really, really smart. He's a smart guy. He is not an idiot, and he is one of us, and he still is. He's just...
He talks, he like name drops Baudrillard and everything. I was like, ooh,
Yeah.
And I think at the end he actually
hello.
calls himself out on his name dropping too. But
well, I mean name dropping, and that he's like a prominent postmodern theorist. You're allowed to name drop those people. So
he's a very intelligent guy, and he sees it from the perspective of not only being a fan but being in the industry, and he knows these guys that are out making these films. So I'm just I'm on his side with it, because I've seen too much of the man baby and the crazy psycho girl mentality that comes out on this stuff, and it just is ridiculous to me.
Well, and he's like, I think the important thing to note too is that he was not condemning anyone. And IO9 really made it sound like he was like turning his back on geekdom and condemning the entire thing, and he's not. He's like, no, I love this stuff. He's like, I just think that we could stand to be a little more thoughtful.
Utilize it to learn something, to get a point across, and not just be giant robots with their balls hanging down.
Oh man, but that could make me think a little.
I'm Michael Berry. What? Yeah. No. So with that wonderful visual in your head, we are out of time, and I want to thank my co-hosts here, Sarah and Eric. I hope you enjoyed our rambling, kind of blargity blue about fandom and the latest controversies that are all seemingly connected, really. They kind of verify what he said.
Yep. Take some time, think about what, like, before you go on the internet and, like, scream about a single scene you saw in a television show or a movie. Think about why it made you feel that way.
Right, and also, don't threaten people's lives over stupid crap. I mean, these are real people. You may think you know them thanks to seeing pictures of them and reading about their lives, but you don't know them. They're not your friend personally. You don't have the right to threaten their life. You don't have the right to threaten Joss Whedon over Black Widow. You don't have the right to threaten to kill James Gunn because he had Amy Pond cut her hair for a movie. You also don't have the right to tell the girl who kissed Misha Collins in Supernatural as a character that you're going to kill her. You don't get that. That's not your right. You can't threaten someone's life, even if you've never met them. You don't get that right. That doesn't give you the right to do that. And I'm really sick of that. I have a real pet peeve about that crap now, because it just makes it harder for the fans who actually care about these people and just want to say hi to be able to do that. Mm-hmm. That is a right you have. You have the right to be able to maybe get to meet someone like that and tell them, hi, I love your work, without them being terrified that you're going to stab them in the neck. And, that's just not okay. That's happened in every fandom now that I've read about, especially Sherlock lately. The Sherlock fandom has gotten to that point as well, and that's scary.
I have not heard any of that gossip.
Oh no, they wanted to kill Amanda, the gal that plays Mary.
What? Why?
Because she came between John and Sherlock.
What? Oh gosh, you guys! Object permanence.
And wait, it gets better.
You should have picked that up when you were like 2.
She's actually Martin Freeman's significant other in real life.
Yeah.
So Amanda Abington is her name. And yeah, her life was threatened because her character came between John and Sherlock.
Well, I have a whole theory about this, and when we do our special 3-hour episode, I can maybe get into it a little.
Right? Yeah.
I know. We're gonna have
we should do like
Fangirl After Dark.
Yeah, just an After Dark where we just talk about with swear words.
Yeah, we can do that because I have a YouTube channel that I can post it on, so we can do that. This is actually going to go up on YouTube here in a couple hours, so it will be up there in its full entirety because I think they're going to have to cut it down for live airing. But I'm going to keep everything on here for YouTube, so you guys can hear. If you've gotten to this point, good on you. You've stuck through it.
Congratulations.
Well, is there a chance I can steal 2 more minutes?
Sure, go for it,
Eric. Just to talk about something that I've enjoyed recently. Are either one of you Chris Jericho fans?
Yes.
He was my first setting buddy at a Horror Hound weekend.
Okay, well, have you seen his new ComedyCentral.com show, Nothing to Report?
I have not.
Oh, it's on ComedyCentral.com, or you can find it on YouTube. It's Chris Jericho and Nick Mundy. I don't know if you're familiar with him.
I know that name.
And there's about 6 videos. They're all about 5 minutes long, and it's a buddy cop comedy that takes place in those moments in between. Basically, it's the scene of the 2 cops in the car on a stakeout when nothing is happening and they're just getting on each other's nerves. And I find it hilarious. And I didn't realize
something he would do.
I didn't realize Jericho had a comedy background.
Oh, he's awesome.
And he's hilarious, and Nick Bundy's very funny in it. There's a few other people that show up in some of the episodes. But I just wanted to mention that, recommend it to you and anybody else that hasn't watched it yet.
Somewhere in my room, in my fangirl cave, I have a signed action figure from him where he calls me his trusty assistant.
Oh nice. My gosh, that's cool.
Yes, he was my first setting buddy. And here's the thing that I think I've said this story, maybe told this story before on the air. Screw it. We're going to go way over, but I don't care.
Yeah, that's it. Well, if people want to sit around, welcome to the After Dark part of Fangirl Radio.
So at first Horror Hound weekend that I did, I was assigned to Chris Jericho. And it also happened to be the first weekend after the entire Chris Benoit.
Oh God, that would have. Oh, how did you handle that?
Well,
lots of booze.
I learned a lot of people are assholes, and I ended up. You had people coming up and asking Jericho about it, and it was horrible. And it was like, do you not realize once again these are real effing people that have emotional connections to these guys? He knew this guy, leave him alone. And then eventually, and then you had people that came up with the video bootlegs of the guy, I can't remember, I'm horrible, I can't remember his name, the guy that fell and died, that was Owen Hart.
Yeah, it's Bret Hart's brother.
Owen Hart. They had the bootleg of him dying, and they brought it up to him and asked him to sign it, and he goes, sorry, man, I can't sign that." And he was really nice. Thing with Chris Jericho was he was nice to everybody, even the people that he should have throat punched. And I eventually,
that's their job.
and eventually, I looked over at him and I said, "Man, can I go off on the next asshole that comes up here with something stupid like that or says something shitty like that to you? Can I please just hit him? Please? You don't have to. I'll do it." And he's like, no, thank you. No, you don't have to do that. Thank you, though, but no, you don't have to do that. And he was just so kind and nice the whole time. And that was the one where the guy came up that had said that he'd saved his life by being there every night he came home from having the worst day ever, that wrestling was there for him, and he was crying, and I was like tearing up listening to this. It was an amazing experience, because it was the first time I'd ever sat with anybody like that, and he just handled it so classy. And I never had seen people with such a cluelessness about them, or they just didn't care, with that kind of a thing.
People are shitty.
But Chris Jericho is awesome. He was funny and sweet and witty and really good looking.
And he still is.
And he still is.
All of those things.
He looks great for his age and the amount of abuse he's put himself through.
So support his new show.
Yeah.
Speaking
of wrestling, Payback, another pay-per-view was on Sunday.
Oh yeah, was that the one with the Ronda Rousey?
Ronda Rousey was WrestleMania, so you're several months behind now, dear.
I don't. I'm not the wrestling person on the show. It's Sarah.
We've had two since then: Extreme Rules and Payback. So Payback was the fatal four-way between Seth Rollins, Randy Orton, Roman Reigns, and Dean Ambrose. Surprise, surprise, Seth Rollins won. Kane helped him out a little. But the big news this last week that was, like the week previous to Payback, that was just devastating for the entire wrestling community, was when Daniel Bryan relinquished the Intercontinental Champion belt, because it turns out his injury never really healed, and he went back into the ring and re-injured himself, and now they don't know if he will ever wrestle again.
Ew.
And he gave a very tearful, heartfelt thank you to the fans. Oh my god, so much crying, you have no idea.
Well, yeah, because he's local, isn't he?
He's from Washington,
yeah.
And he's an amazing guy, just all about the fans, all about wrestling, and I will be very sad to never see him wrestle again, because he was really good, and his story is amazing. He was a fan favorite. He would never have gotten the chance to do what he did if the fans hadn't just loved him so much. So it's very sad.
Aww.
But he's also one of those people who has a lot of ambition in his life, so I know that if he can't wrestle again, he'll still go on to do great things. He's been talking about, like, doing the Peace Corps. So, yeah. So, just, one of those people, so... Awesome. Thank you, Daniel Bryan.
Aw. Well, guys, I think that is it. I think we went over far enough. But we will be back next week, possibly with footage from interviews, maybe. Maybe we'll have an interview on the show. So I will... Poor Sarah. I'm sorry. But I just got to tell you, if I do get to talk to Elijah Wood again, I'm going to be ecstatic, because... I think it's going to happen for sure. But
I love him so much. If you talk to him, you have to tell him hi from me.
Well, it's so cool about him is he's a big old horror geek, and the one time I talked to him about Maniac, I kind of got a crush, because I was like, I had no idea, and then he goes, well, Giallo cinema, blah blah blah, and I'm like, wait, what? The Hobbit just said Giallo. What? No, and so we started talking about Argento and stuff like that.
So wonderful. I used to have, like, all of high school was dreams of my perfect wedding. Like, literally, I would dream about it. Like, when in bed at night, dream about getting married to Elijah Wood.
Wow, I'm not telling him that.
Don't tell him that. No, don't tell him that. Just tell him hi. Tell him I say hi.
I will.
Okay.
Well, guys, thank you so much. And if you made it this far into this, Yay, good for you. You're true fans.
You must like us a lot more.
You
than
must like us
you
a
do.
lot. Yeah. Well, thank you again for listening, and we will be back next week on Fangirl Radio with our special extended edition. Apparently, this is new now with Thane that we're going to do for YouTube. So,
You're welcome.
You're welcome. You're all, yeah. You got more of us because that's what you want to do is